Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo. We're reading Basics of Buddhism by Pat Allwright, and today we're reading the chapter called 10 States of Life. There's a quote here and it says, "While deluded, one is called a common mortal, but once enlightened, he is called a Buddha." So, life changes from moment to moment. You may wake up feeling good, go into the kitchen and find a sink full of washing up. Instantly you feel irritated. You can't get the kettle under the tap. After a strong cup of coffee, your spirit somewhat resolved or restored. A check you have been waiting for arrives in the post. You feel even better, but a hold up on the way to work makes you feel anxious after being late. About being late. At work, how you feel and act changes according to what is demanded of you. How well you are able to respond to these demands and the moods of everybody else. If you have a bad day, a couple of drinks after work may induce a sense of euphoria, which vanishes while you realize that there is no food at home and you are going to have to battle through the supermarket or get you yet another expensive takeaway. Once home and able to relax, you may forget all the worries of the day and feel calm again. Our lives are constantly changing. The changing conditions which we experience are defined in Buddhism by 10 states of life, often called the 10 worlds. We can all recognize these life states, although our experience of them may differ according to our individual personalities. Each state describes a common way of experiencing life from moment to moment. We change from one to the other all the time, although we may identify some that we experience more often than others. So the first one is hell, extremity of suffering. This is the state of object misery. In this condition, one feels continuous torment and anguish. One feels trapped and powerless, as if in prison. This feeling of helplessness induces the anger of frustration. It is a different kind of anger from that of, for example, anger for justice. It is helpless rage. In hell, time seems painlessly slow. Space or one's sphere of influence is severely restricted. For example, when we are depressed, we can think of nothing but ourselves and we feel as if our depression will last forever. So, hunger is the second one. Insatiable desire. Hunger is characterized by greed. Desire dominates one's life. Even if a desire is satisfied, one is only temporarily appraised before being dominated by another desire. Of course, like any other of the 10 states, desire is essential to life. Desire has been the driving force behind civilization and has brought about many improvements. However, if desire is unchecked by respect and wisdom, it becomes a selfish greed which leads to destruction, as evidenced by pollution. So, animality, a life of instinct. In this state, one follows one's instinctive desires with no thought of the outcome. It is called animality because it is like the law of the jungle, where the strong prey upon the weak and the weak fear the strong. It is natural in the animal world for hunters to kill the weakest of their prey, which in turn helps to preserve the strength of that species. Self-preservation, such as getting enough food and sleep, is a vital function for animality. However, instinct needs to be tempered by the human qualities of reason, conscience, love, and mercy. If it is not, we will be unable to create and maintain a peaceful and constructive coexistence in both our personal lives and the world at large. So, conditions of suffering. The life conditions of hell, hunger, and animality are collectively called the three evil paths. They are called evil because they are conditions of suffering in which one is controlled by helpless agony, desire, or other instinctive forms of behavior. The fourth state, anger, does have an element of humanity in that one is self-conscious and consequently aware of the opinions of others. Nevertheless, it too is a state of suffering. Anger is therefore grouped with hell, hunger, and animality, which together form the four evil paths. So, anger, the world of conflict. A person in anger is dominated by ego. He thinks he is better and knows better than everyone else and works exclusively for his own benefit, concerned about the opinions of others. He may make an outward show of being benevolent or righteous, but inwardly he is solely motivated by his own gain. The anger of this state is different to the self consuming rage of hell. In anger, one's conflict and desire to win is paramount, so the anger is directed outwards, as opposed to the rage of hell, which is debilitating. This kind of self righteous anger has tremendous energy, which can also be used in creative ways, such as in defending a just cause. So, tranquility, the human being. In tranquility, one controls his instinctive desire with reason. This is the humane, calm, and reasonable state of mind in which one is at peace with himself and others. It has such qualities as intelligence, sound judgment, superior wisdom, the ability to distinguish truth from falsehood, and a good temperament. Although, although tranquility, also called humanity, is the state which is most natural to human beings, it is not easy to maintain in our turbulent society. So, rapture, overwhelming joy. Rapture, sometimes called heaven, is the exhilaration experienced through the satisfaction of a desire. This state is subdivided into the world of desire, form, and formlessness. In the first of these, rapture comes from the satisfaction of any desire, such as eating one's favorite food, gaining a material possession, or achieving power or recognition. Rapture in the world of form has to do with physical well being and energy, such as the pleasure derived from sex or the exhilaration of sport. In the world of formlessness, it is the spiritual fulfillment of intense creativity. In rapture, time flies past and one has a strong influence on the outer world. One feels light, filled with energy, and tremendously joyful. However, this state is short lived. Once a desire objective pales, one tends to fall into hunger, hell, or anonymity. So, learning self reflection. The last four of the 10 states are termed the Four Noble Paths because, in order to experience them, one has to make an effort. In the six lower life states, one wanders weakly from state to state, depending on changing circumstances. To experience the Four Noble Paths, one must make a conscious effort to motivate and direct one's life. In the state of learning, one has an open mind, applies oneself to self development through learning from others, and gains wisdom through self reflection. A person in this state is actively looking for deeper meaning in life. So, absorption, realization. Absorption is very similar to learning in that one is seeking to cultivate oneself. However, rather than learning from others, one gains insight and wisdom from introspection and intuition. A classic example of a person in absorption is Archimedes, who is, it is popularly believed, shouted "Eureka!" when he realized his famous principle whilst musing in the bath. This life state is very creative and absorbing, hence its name. Literature, music, and the arts, as well as the great discoveries of science, stem from the states of learning and absorption. Whilst often motivated by concern for the welfare of others, those dominated by these states can tend to be inward looking. They can become oblivious to others and lose sight of the possible effects of their great discoveries and inventions until it's too late. An outstanding example of this is the development of the nuclear bomb. A more personal example might be an artist who, absorbed in his work, fails to take care of his family. Learning and absorption are known jointly as the two vehicles. People who are inclined toward these life states often attain positions of prominence in society and can therefore have far reaching influence. However, those who have mastered a great deal of theory may adopt a superior attitude, thinking they know it all. If this happens, they lose the will to develop themselves, become arrogant and selfish, and fall back into one of the six lower states, such as anger or anonymity. So, Buddharatra, caring for others. One experiences this state when devoted to helping others. The great compassion of the state of the Buddharatra is seen in the most caring nurses, doctors, and teachers who have dedicated to the welfare of others, even at the expense of their own comfort. Mothers, too, who show unconditional love for their children, are in this state. The negative aspect of this life condition is that those devoted to caring for others often wear themselves out in the process, having no way of replenishing their energy. This has become known as compassion fatigue. Bodhisattva originally meant one who summons up courage in the hope of attaining Buddhahood. In a Buddhist sense, therefore, in the state of Bodhisattva, one recognizes that helping others is the most effective way of perfecting oneself. Emphasizing with others' suffering, one takes action to help, thereby overcoming selfish and egotistical tendencies. In Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism, therefore, the Buddharatra is not selfish. The development of self, that is, the greater self of reason, conscious wisdom, and courage, is virtually important in order to release the limitless energy of compassion from within. Self-reformation and altruism go hand in hand, so that one does not yield to the weakness of despair, selfishness, or ego. So, Buddharatras of the earth. Nichiren Daishonin often referred to his followers as Buddharatras of the earth. First described in the 15th century of the Lotus Sutra, they appear from the earth to spread the Buddhist law throughout the universe. The earth symbolizes that these are ordinary people from every walk of life who chose to devote themselves to work for the good of all. Earth also means the foundation of Buddhahood. Buddharatras of the earth have four virtues: true self, eternity, purity, and happiness. Those are developed through self-reformation. The virtue of true self is established by strengthening oneself to withstand difficulties, turning them into opportunities for growth. The virtue of eternity is to experience freedom. I don't know why I get stunted by that word. It is the experience to experience freedom through believing in the eternity of life and to work spontaneously towards the greater happiness of society. Purity is to demonstrate true wisdom and reason, unswayed by selfish desire or ego. Happiness means to live with great joy, secure and founded on the creative power of life. These qualities are developed by tapping into the earth of Buddhahood. Buddharatras of the earth are truly humane, compassionate, and joyful people. So, Buddhahood, the state of enlightenment. Many people may think that Buddhahood is a kind of superhuman state which has only been attained by one person, the Buddha. However, Buddha means an enlightened person. It is indeed an unsurpassed state of life, and in Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism, it is accessible to all. Although the Lotus Sutra taught that all people are equally capable of attaining Buddhahood, it does not teach a means whereby everyone can actually do so. Nichiren Daishonin defined the law of the universe, of the law of life, as Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo, so that we can actually harmonize our lives with the universe. This generates understanding of the continuity of past, present, and future, the entirety of life, or the eternity of life. It gives direct access to the boundless life force of the cosmos, as well as the great wisdom which arises from being in oneness with all life. The essential nature of universe is compassion, so that Buddhahood, one's main concern is to save all life from suffering. Buddhist teachings traditionally portray the Buddha as an incredible being with mystic powers. Nichiren Daishonin clarifies that these are descriptions of the magnificence of human life, or, more broadly speaking, all life, including sentient life. However, from a personal point of view, the important revelation is that each one of us has unlimited potential and power to overcome suffering and live based on indestructible happiness. Nichiren Daishonin says, you, yourself, are a true Buddha who possesses the three enlightened properties: courage, wisdom, and compassion. You shall chant Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo with this conviction. The people of 13th century Japan thought the Buddha was a being with superhuman power, something they could never aspire to. Nichiren Daishonin therefore often encouraged his followers by reassuring them, as well as us, that Buddhism is about how to fulfill the whole of our potential as human beings, overcome suffering, be happy, and help others. So here we've got here is a quick list of the 10 states of life that we've just spoken about, and it says Buddhahood, Buddhahatra, absorption, learning, rapture, tranquility, anger, anomality, hunger, and hell. So I hope that makes sense to you. So the mutual possessions of the 10 states. In early Buddhist teachings, the above 10 states were thought to exist in separate places. This is why they were called the 10 worlds. It was considered impossible to move from one world to another within a single lifetime. There are still some Buddhist sects which sustain the belief that a pure land, rapture, or heaven can be attained only after death, and that one must therefore endure suffering and devote oneself to good deeds in order to be reborn there. Endurance and perseverance are undoubtedly admirable human qualities. However, religions which teach that a pure land lies elsewhere leave people open to exploitation, keeping them in their place, working hard and expecting nothing in the hope of a better life after death. In contrast, Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism teaches the mutual possession of the 10 states. Each state contains all 10 within itself. This means that all people, whatever their life state, have the potential to reveal Buddhahood. Also, very importantly, it means that the Buddha state is not removed from ordinary life because it contains all 10 states. In other words, there is no separation between a Buddha and an ordinary person. Buddhahood is inaccessible to anyone and everyone. People in the state of Buddhahood then do not cut themselves off from the realities of daily life in the 9 worlds. Because their life has a secure foundation, they actively delve into society into order to help others. In this way, they are able to reveal the creative qualities of the 9 states. Everything becomes a source of growth. The suffering of hell becomes a means to empathize with others. Hunger becomes desire for peace, and humanity promotes gratitude for others' support. Anger becomes anger for justice, and so on. Buddhahood is endowed with infinite compassion and wisdom. The wisdom of Buddhahood permeates to the diabolic nature that subverts life and tries to destroy it. The compassion of Buddhahood furnishes the energy to overcome this evil force. In this way, the wisdom and compassion of Buddhahood becomes manifest in the 9 states, and as they act in these states, they themselves are nourished and increased, strengthening the Buddhahood within us. We must not, for this reason, seek to avoid the difficulties and challenges of the 9 states, but rather meet them head on and overcome them, thus turning them into valuable experience. If one attempts to avoid difficulties, one misses the chance to develop and improve oneself. To avoid trouble is no more than to succumb to the illusions of the 9 states. The mark of the Buddhahood is the ability to meet all challenges and turn them into good. Indeed, the person who bases his life on the Buddhahood seeks out new difficulties and new challenges that need to be overcome for the sake of the world as well as for his own growth and development. Wow. So tomorrow the next chapter is called Cause and Effect. So Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo and peace be unto you. Take care.